This is Dr. Gigi Sabbat, and you're listening into the Walk With Me podcast. Joining me today is our amazing guest, Kudari. Welcome, Kudari.
Thank you, thank you.
Such an honor to have you here today, and we are actually in Orlando, Florida. This is actually my first in-person podcast in Orlando. Quite interesting here, but anyhow, Kudari, tell us a little bit more about you.
Okay, well, I'm a financial advocate, so my purpose is more so looking toward finding out ways that I can serve people, moving in a bold and favorable manner, and just looking to open up doors of connection, of information, and really shaping and transforming legacies. However, I've been fortunate and blessed enough to find out how.
And what inspired you to do the type of work that you do today?
Inspired. This is a strange thing, right? In my field, when it comes down to risk, I feel like you don't necessarily find this, but more so it finds you. So I was working in corporate for almost a decade, and I just wasn't feeling fulfilled. I wasn't in a space where I feel like I was making a significant impact in what I was doing. It's kind of just rinse, wash, and repeat. So then eventually, the things that I was looking for, trying to find something that was bigger and that exercised more of my potential, kind of just found me. And as I started taking those steps, it just opened up doors for me to be able to have amazing conversations that I think that really matter. And that it's things that, I would have loved to have known sooner, but you know it when you know it, and I think it's much more impactful now. So let me open up those doors as it was opened up for me.
Incredible. And so you are known as a financial advocate, and so I do have a financial background as well, so we have common ground there. So tell us a little bit more about your experience as far as being a financial advocate goes.
Yes. So when it came down to it, there's a lot of things that I just thought were already going to be laid out for me, and I think it's kind of traditional in that sense. Because everybody, at least growing up, it was just, hey, go to school, get a degree, get a job. And then after that, it seemed like the story was like you're happily ever after, right? Like, if you have that job, everything will take care of itself. So on the financial side, when I sat down with my coach, 30 or 40-minute conversation completely blew my mind because he asked questions that I didn't have answers for. Hey, what happens if you run out of money? What happens if you were to have this health concern? What happens if this? What if taxes go? Just the kind of questions that I was thinking, well, I got my 401k, so yes. I just got to work long enough to fund that long enough to be able to live off that for the rest of my life. But that level of certainty was no longer there, and that level of security really got shook up. So those conversations I have with people is finding out what's most important, and then how can I enlighten you on making sure that what's most important actually becomes a reality for you.
Incredible. And now you are currently a speaker as well. What inspired you to become a speaker on a public forum?
It goes back to that significance. It goes back to that level of making a bigger impact. So, for example, I love one-on-one conversations because then you can really get to know people and then vice versa. Yes. But when you cast a bigger net, like it gives you the opportunity to do so much more because you never know who you're going to hit in a particular audience and then what that seed is going to be to plant for them. So instead of doing everything one by one, why not go ahead and cast a lot more? Like a farmer doesn't look to say, hey, I'm going to plant one seed to grow one tree. Or I'm going to plant one seed to grow one plant. They plant as much as they can. They cultivate that ground as much as they can so that they can reap the biggest harvest. So I think when you go to speaking, it gives you a chance to have the bigger harvest.
Very powerful. I agree 100%. Now tell us a little bit more about you and some of the challenges that you face in your life, Kudari.
Challenges in life in regards to business or
in general?
Oh man, in general. I would say, and this is still a ever-growing thing, I would say one of the biggest challenges that I've had is just really carving out my vision. Vision is something that I know how impactful it is because, from a biblical standpoint, they say without vision, my people perish, right?
Yes.
So it's okay, I want to have a vision, but then there's so many options out there. Like, what's my calling? What's my assignment? What's my purpose? So working on streamlining that while at the same time also appreciating the fact that you can't put God in a box. You can't say, hey, it's supposed to be this, it has to be this, it has to be that. So it's finding that balance in my vision. And I think that's a challenge not only for myself, but a lot of people who are finding themselves, especially as you're growing and as your identity is growing, figuring out who that person that you want to be and who that person that you're becoming so that you can take those actions and those steps and to operate in that manner.
I love how you face it head on, and it's almost like you're giving your battle to him. I love it. And you're not avoiding it. You're saying, okay, this is the challenge and I'm facing it head on. I love it. And I agree 100%. When we face a challenge, we have to give our battles to him. Now, Kudari, what's your best advice to the audience for walking with purpose and living a life of happiness?
My best advice for living a life of happiness and it was purpose?
Yes.
I think that you have to some of the good things I found out from my coach, because a lot of things in business also apply to life, right? And it's about finding out who do you talk to, who do you spend so much time talking to for like absolutely no reason. Because you'll get as far as the people that you continue to surround yourself with more often than not. So if you have positive people speaking in your ear, if you have people speaking life into you, I think that you can really find your purpose depending on the people that you surround yourself, the meetings and the environment that you put yourself in, and the things that you read. So I think that if you have to pursue what are you consuming, right? What are you putting in your ears? What are you putting into your mind? And I think that as you find those things that resonate with you and that not only naturally align with some of the talents you already have, but what things do you really find fulfilling and worthwhile? Because there's seeds planted in those things that already have our attention and our focus. So I've always been known as somebody who talks a lot. So
That's all right.
yeah, so in that there's been a seed there of if you have this gift of speaking, of understanding, of creativity, that's already somewhere in your wheelhouse. There may be more to that. So to give attention more to the things that you already have an ability to nurture, and then just continue to nourish that.
I love it. Now, what message do you have for an individual who may feel stuck today?
Man, been there before, right? And then it's continuous. I think that when you're stuck, take action.
Yes.
I think there's nothing like because if you keep doing what you're doing, then you continue to have what you have, right? But whenever you run into a certain thing, sometimes I think if you just keep on going a little bit further, the door is going to continue to open up to you.
Amen.
So take action, and then continue to take action, and reflect on that, but keep on taking those steps.
Very powerful. Now, we spoke about faith a little bit earlier today. What's your favorite Bible verse?
You know what? See, I had a feeling because before we didn't talk about any questions that were coming up, right? But I was like, this is probably going to come up, and I'm still actually going back and revisiting the Bible because, funny enough, like when you read it versus what you hear about, it's two different things. So I'm going through different books, and I'm like, I didn't realize that there was this context to certain content that I was reading. However, in my last year in this speaking journey and getting out in front of people, it's been Matthew 7:24. And it's Jesus' Sermon on the Mount where he's talking about where's your foundation. So he was talking about the foundation of whether you are being wise and building your foundation upon a rock, or you're being foolish and building your foundation upon the sand.
Wow, very powerful.
And there's so many things that can apply to, because it's like, okay, that can be in life. What are you building your foundation on? In business, what are you building your foundation on? You as a person, like, what is your character? What kind of foundation do you have? And when you look at things through that lens, you could start to solidify that. And then once you really have a stronger foundation, how much more of a great structure can you build from that?
That's right. God's wisdom truly matters, and discernment truly matters. Yes, thank you so much for sharing. And so my favorite Bible verse is Joshua 1:9, which states, "Have I commanded you, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for your Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Therefore, you're not alone. He's with you." Yes, sir.
What I love about that, and this is something that, going through the algorithm and YouTube, Instagram, and so on, is that I believe they said that 365 times in the Bible it mentions do not fear. So it's repetitive.
Faith over fear.
And if we were made fearfully and wonderfully, right?
Yes.
So it's like how much responsibility do we have if we weren't made with a spirit of fear? Like, we were made fearfully in the sense of like how responsible it is, but we weren't made to be fearful. So to continue to combat that, as you mentioned earlier,
yes, sir,
on a regular and ongoing basis, which is why I was thinking there's so much value in courage. There's so much value in being bold. There's so much favor that comes from being bold. So continue to approach challenges with just a spirit of like a lion, right?
That's very true. Kudari, what if an individual wants to begin to build a relationship with him, but they are not sure where to start? Any suggestions?
I still feel like I'm still in my infancy in learning and continuing to grow. But honestly, I say start from the beginning, right? Because so one of my like online coaches just from afar is Myron Golden, and his favorite book in the Bible is Genesis. And he says he feels like Genesis is the first book. Even further than that, the first chapter. Even further than that, the first verse. How impactful it is just in speaking to that. So like when you go back to being in the beginning, when he talks about the word, he talks about creation, and even the first thing that God says about himself, he mentions that he's created, right? And if he made us in his image, right, then we are also knowing that, okay, there's power in the word and there's power in the fact that we are created.
Absolutely incredible. Thank you so much, Kudari. Now, Kudari, do you have any last words for the audience?
Last words. If I were to say last words, there's two different things I think people should look at, right? people should look at where they are in their life, right? And then I actually came up with this earlier this week. It was, and this is not an advertisement for the website, but it was like an acronym was www.gap.com, right? The www is for who you want to be, where you want to be, and what you want to be. The gap is the difference between where your current state is and what your future state is. And the com is on the other side of the gap, is that level of completion. So really look at yourself as far as the who, the what, and the where, and then identify where you want to be, and then try to find out, like, work backwards from that. What are the things that can help me accomplish that? The tools, the people, the spaces, the environment that can help me get from where I am to that future desired state.
I love it. Thank you so much, Kudari. Now, where can the audience find you?
I am on all platforms, whether it's Facebook, Instagram. Instagram is IJS_KD, like I'm just saying _KD. And then also I have a website. It's beacons, like a beacon of light, beacons.ai/Kudari.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kudari. And ladies and gentlemen, make sure to check out Kudari on his website. And Kudari, again, thanks so much for being a guest on the Walk With Me podcast.
There it is. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. God bless.